what you experience as the world is intrinsically one with your consciousness. The only place where you experience the world is in your consciousness. In some way, you could almost say, go as far as to say, what you're actually looking at is a reflection in the external, in the world of form, of your state of consciousness, one could say. There is your personal world and there is the collective world. So the two, they are connected, but they're not the same, because first of all, there is what you experience as a world in your personal life, or the people you habitually interact with, where you live, your surroundings. It starts with simple things like even the objects that surround you, where you work, the people you work with. So all these things, your personal life, so-called life, is one sphere that you move in. And the important thing is not to neglect that in search of a better collective world. The two are related. To disregard your personal sphere, the world that is immediately accessible to you as you and your life, the people in your life, where you live, all that, your work. To neglect that, it's very seductive to think there's so much wrong with the world out there, the collective. That's really what I should be concerned with, because there's so much wrong out there. You can see it. You just have to turn on some kind of device, whether it's television or that brings you the news and the commentaries, continuous stream. And then, of course, that is the collective world that then enters your living room or wherever you are. And then they get mixed up. They can obliterate, the collective can obliterate your personal life. And you think your personal life is quite irrelevant now, because what really matters, the world needs to change. It's so dreadful. Well, yes, the world needs to change, and the world is changing because humanity is a work in progress. Humanity is slowly evolving in fits and starts and regressive periods. It takes a few steps forward and then a few steps, 4 steps forward, 3 steps back, then a few more forward. There's a gradual evolution of humanity, and to focus only on what is going wrong within that process, that evolutionary process, is also very misleading, because that's what you see when you watch the media and so on. It focuses not on what's going right or what has gone right, it focuses on what's going wrong. Then you give that more and more attention. By giving attention to something, you amplify it. So whatever you give it, now I'm not saying to completely ignore the world, no, but to give it an excessive amount of attention and only continuously think about what's wrong with the world, then you forget what's right with the world, and that then diminishes. So the starting point with changing the world is to become aware of how you operate in this world. The starting point is, how do you relate to the humans in your life? Your mind, what is your mind doing? What is your predominant state of consciousness? What are your predominant emotions? What are the predominant thoughts that go through your mind? It's vitally important to become aware of that. If you're not aware of what the predominant emotions are, that the predominant thoughts are, plus accompanying emotions that go through your mind, you are unaware. And the emotions, the thoughts and emotions that arise continuously within you are a form of conditioning, and so they take possession of you. So it's vitally important as the starting point for changing the world is to become aware of your world. Are there many people that you hate? Are there more people that you like or love? Is there love, compassion, or not so much? How do you relate to people? How do you relate to strangers that you meet in a shop, in a store? How do you relate to somebody you meet in an elevator? All these things are part of what you manifest as your world. So it's how do you what is the predominant energy that you manifest in your life that affects other humans? That is a very important starting point that, of course, is expressed in the famous saying, be the change that you want to see in this world. So change starts with you. And that means your consciousness, your state of consciousness. What is become aware of your mind? What is how much complaining do you do? Useless complaining, not a sort of complaining that can actually bring about change, but useless complaining about other people and groups of people, and pronouncing half of humanity to be evil. The ability to become aware of your mind, what kinds of thoughts your mind is producing, once that grows, that means there's more awareness in you, there's more presence in you. Another dimension of consciousness has arisen. Do you acknowledge the beingness of the other, if only for a few seconds, giving it attention? See, there is beyond the personality, there's something deeper. Do you briefly, can you sense the being? Ultimately, it means the sacredness of every human, no matter what their personality displays. Next question is, observe, are you at the mercy of how other people behave around you? Do you react? You meet somebody who's angry, says something angry at you, driving, for example. Somebody shouts at you. Are you aware enough not to be drawn into the same energy that the other person manifests? Are you able to simply stay clear and present? Not easy. If your mental emotional state is no longer determined by somebody else's mental emotional state, that's a huge awakening. And because as long as your mental emotional state is determined by somebody else's mental emotional state, that in Eastern terms, it means it's a perpetuation of karma. So there's no freedom in that. So you can, if somebody's nice to you, you're nice to him or her, okay. But if somebody's not nice to you, what happens? Jesus was talking about something similar. He said, it's easy to be nice to others who are nice to you, but what about those that are not nice to you? That's what really matters. It doesn't mean, of course, that you become a doormat or you don't have nothing to do with that. In fact, there's a great inner power and strength that arises when you're no longer continuously reactive. That is really weakness. So if you become angry when somebody's angry at you, the ego regards this as power. You have compensated for feeling of having been diminished by somebody's attack, verbal attack or criticism. The ego feels diminished. But it's amazing, for example, how traffic, it's a simple thing, can make people unconscious. So the moment they get behind the wheel, they become reactive and unconscious and take everything personally. That's part of manifesting the world that you experience, because you see it through the lens or the veil of all the conditioning within you, the mental, emotional, and even energetic conditioning within you. So you meet people who are, you can sense that they are in a state of unhappiness. It's a generic term that could mean many things. they're in a state of ultimately suffering, because even a person who is angry is really suffering. They don't know they're suffering. So it's not only not ultimately not pleasant, it's harmful. First, it's harmful to your body, it's harmful to other human beings, unless they are immune. That immunity is awareness, presence. So you're not at the mercy of other humans, you are free. You may not succeed every time, because humans can be very difficult, not you, just other humans. So the essence of what I'm saying here is become conscious of the fact that often you are at the mercy of other people or situations, and your state of mind or your emotional state is completely controlled and reactive. Also not just reacting to humans, but reacting to situations that are regarded as limiting, frustrating, and so on. Can you rise above situations also and become free of that reactivity, that, for example, the continuous complaining in your mind about what's wrong with the world? Some people continuously complain what's wrong with the world, others complain more from what's wrong with their life. And that's a very seductive thing, because the ego likes that. It inflates the ego. If you complain about other people, you experience an ego inflation. Why? Because the ego feels itself to be superior when it can complain about others. All that, as you awaken spiritually, become more free of this reactivity. Then what the words you speak, the actions you take in your immediate surroundings, make the world a better place. And you break the karmic chain, which is action, reaction, action, reaction. That is our task here. And that's how you make the world a better place. You have to, the dysfunctional patterns in your own life, you have to look at them. And I know many people who've had very dysfunctional upbringing, and then have suffered enormously because they were forced to, because of their unconsciousness, not enough awareness, they were forced to reenact the same patterns that they experienced. And then they so in that way you bring more suffering into this world. Are you bringing more suffering into this world, or are you bringing healing into this world? Healing is not weakness, healing is power. So you have to seriously ask yourself, next question in your world, what do you do with the internet when you, social media, what is the quality and the nature of your interactions with other humans that you, in most cases, have never met? So you don't know them as humans. They are just abstract symbols on the screen. They have expressed an opinion. And they've expressed an opinion that seems to conflict with your opinion. And suddenly you treat this other human being as some kind of demon. It happens millions of times. Is that creating a better world? So you make sure to create a better world that do not participate in the craziness of this world. Don't be at the mercy of others as far as your state of consciousness is concerned. And you can only do that by being present more and more, always connecting with that alertness, a very key word. Be alert so that you know what's going on in your mind and in your emotion. Don't repress anything, just know. And that will gradually dissolve dysfunctional patterns.